Barry, thank you for that incredibly flattering introduction. I thought we must be talking about somebody else, and then I realised I had to come on and speak. Crispin and I may have to disappear at very short notice because there's going to be a vote on Lord's amendments to the Tenants' Bill. So if we suddenly disappear in a puff of smoke, it is not that we have weakened or softened or given way, it is because the whip's call. But I think we are facing a really important point in our constitution, because there are people who are trying very hard to stop Brexit, and they have 65 days, 9 hours, 19 minutes, and 9, 8, 7, etc. seconds in which to do it. So they are going to do everything that they can in this remaining time not to delay Brexit, not to get a deal, but to keep us bound to the European Union. And that is what the Yvette Cooper bill is about. It's what the losers' vote is about. It is in relation to stopping us leaving. And we should be very clear about that, because in our country, people expect the result of a democratic vote to be respected and not thwarted. And they wrap it up in pretty wrapping paper. They say that it's about asserting the control of the House of Commons. The House of Commons has the ability to control things by a vote of confidence in the government. If the government is in office, we have established procedures between the legislature and the executive, and these are not being respected. But this self-same House of Commons, for which we are authoritatively told there is no majority for no deal, has voted through the Article 50 Act and the Withdrawal Act. So either the people who voted for those two acts, which includes the majority of parliamentarians for the Article 50 bill, the overwhelming majority of parliamentarians didn't know what they were doing, or they've forgotten. So either they were idle, or they're not quite as intelligent as they like to pretend. But actually, I don't think either of those are true. I think they recognised the weight of public opinion to push those acts through was so great that they could not defy the will of the British people. And now, as we get to 65 days to go, they are trying to frighten us into submission, and they are trying to thwart what they themselves voted for. And this would be a constitutional outrage. The proper, settled arrangements between the executive and the legislature have worked well for centuries. In 1832, when they were going through the Reform Bill, there was an occasion when it was thought necessary that the King might have to come in person to dissolve Parliament, because the practice was, and I imagine still is, that if the King turns up in person to prorogue Parliament, any discussion stops straight away, whereas if it's done by commissioners, we can carry on gassing on for a little bit longer. I hope it will not be necessary for Her Majesty's stay at Sandringham to be interrupted for her in person to prorogue Parliament. We do not want that sort of constitutional crisis. We want to observe the constitutional norms. Now, I brought this deal for you to see, because you may have looked at it. You may have read it. I see my colleague Marc Francois, who is here, and he's read it several times. Indeed. He usually carries it around with him, so I'm sorry to see you haven't got it with you, but I've got mine.
I'm sorry, boss.
This document does not leave the European Union properly, and therefore let me be clear, because I like reading in the newspapers that I've suddenly become a soft touch. And, frankly, it's true in so many ways. I do whatever my children tell me. That is my... And they're all staunch Eurosceptics. But whilst I do wish, of course, for there to be a deal, I always wish to be in the same division lobby as the leader of the Conservative Party. I wish to be a loyal and dutiful supporter of the party I've belonged to for many years. This deal does not deliver Brexit, and it has more than one problem. But overwhelmingly the biggest problem is the backstop, because it divides our nation between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It leaves us potentially in a customs union forever. And it leaves us, whilst we are in it, subject to the European Court of Justice. As long as that backstop is there, I will not vote for this deal. And I think that the chances, as I was talking about earlier, of people stopping Brexit are very slim. Of course, any deal would be better than not leaving at all. But this deal, against the risk of not leaving, is not good enough. And it needs fundamental change. But, ladies and gentlemen, I think at last things are going our way. We have heard stories coming out of Ireland that they would like to have a bilateral agreement to keep the border open, as the EU has toughened its line on the border between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. We've heard the Poles saying that they are more interested in their relationship with the United Kingdom because of our strong ties than they are particularly concerned about the Irish border. That's come from Daniel Kaczynski, who was himself born in Poland and is the tallest member of Parliament. We've heard that the Italians are beginning to think that these arrangements are not entirely satisfactory, and Mrs. Merkel has said she's willing to work day and night to get something done. So I think there is good news for us to hope that a reformation of this deal could be achieved that could make it acceptable. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is not there yet, and until it is, people like me will vote against the deal, and we will always support our friends in the Democratic Unionist Party, because we, ladies and gentlemen, I speak for myself and for Conservatives, and I accept that you are a broad church. I was handed a leaflet by the Communist Party as I came in. And I took it. It took me some time. I'm a bit slow, really. It took me some time to realise it was from the Communist Party, because it was pretty sound on the European issue. But for those of you in this audience who are members of the Communist Party, I'm not speaking for you, obviously. I'm speaking for those who are Conservatives and Unionists. And we will always keep our United Kingdom together. So time is short, and we want to hear from Crispin, and we may have to vote. So I just want to reiterate these key points. We must not allow our constitutional norms to be overthrown by those who always rejected the vote, never liked it, never supported, and are determined to frustrate it. That is something we must watch out for and we must oppose. But we must be sensible, and we must try and ensure that we leave in the best possible way. I share Roger's view that leaving without a deal on world trade terms is nothing to be frightened of. But if we can do something better, and we can bring the whole country with us, I think that is worth doing. I think it may even be worth paying a little bit, but not too much, money for. But that cannot happen with the backstop in place. And, ladies and gentlemen, there is hope. There are two types of hope. One is we will get a better deal. The other hope, tick-tock, goes the clock. And as it ticks down, we get closer to leaving. And when we leave, we have taken back control. We are in charge. We determine our future. We have the ability to make a success of our lives. And I remind you of this, that that's why we want Brexit. We want Brexit because we believe we make better decisions for ourselves than other people can make for us. We believe that the nation state is the right and legitimate and just body for making decisions about how we are governed. We believe that our democratic institutions will provide the best governmental solutions, and the freedom to throw people out if they don't come up with the best solutions is fundamental to how we understand our nation should run. This is such an exciting opportunity for our country. It is in a way a rebirth, a retaking of control to decide how we can establish and create the nation for the next generation, the next 50, the next 100 years. Let us not hold our breath for 65 days, because that might prove tricky. But let us be full of cheer and optimism, that we will get the Brexit that 17.4 million people voted for us, and Yvette Cooper will not stop us.
Yeah.